Good morning, Accelerated Geo. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about an interactive cross-section activity that you're going to be working on. Now, we've been investigating solids and we started talking about cross-sections last class. So what we want to do now is we want to look at what cross-sections we are going to be working with. So what we're going to do here is this interactive activity. And this is going to help us visualize cross-sections in solids. So let's first take a look at what we have here. An interactive cross-section flyer. So if you hit this, if I hit that link, I opened it up already over here. This is an example of a cross-section, an interactive cross-section activity that we're going to be talking about. Now, what you see here, see how they have names? They have double cone, cone, cylinder, pyramid, prism. All right, so we can work with calculating cross sections of all different types of figures here. So the first figure that we're going to work with is, if you look in this activity, a couple things you're going to need first. You're going to have to create the first shape, which is a cone. Use the interactive tool to create the three-dimensional cross sections of the cone. Sketch the cone with each cross section in the space provided, and use a colored pencil to shade each cross section. Follow the same steps for each shape. So we're starting with shape 1, which is a cone. So if I go to my interactive, I'm going to hit cone. All right, guys. So there's my cone. Now, the first shape they're asking me to create with my cone is, if I look down here, they're asking me to create a half ellipse. Now, we can manipulate this. Right now, I see a full ellipse. So if I take a look at this, I can see that I have a full ellipse on my graph. Now, this graph, that X and Y coordinate plane, represents the plane that is cutting into our cone. So right now, the plane that's cutting into our cone is forming an ellipse. Now, how can I adjust it to find a half ellipse? What you're going to do is you can animate things. So I can rotate the slice and see how my ellipse is changing. It's up there. I have a circle. So I have an ellipse that can be changing to a circle. All right. This is a way I can manipulate my cone. But wait a minute here. This right there, what do I notice, guys? I don't have a full ellipse. I don't have a full ellipse now. I have a half ellipse. So what I can also do here is I can rotate. I can change the radius of my cone. If you move this right here, you can change the radius of your cone. So I can take this and I can make it a smaller and larger. I can move the slice. So see, I can just slide it, but I still want that half ellipse, so I'm going to keep it. I can also rotate the figure, and I'm going to rotate the figure just so I can see it better. All right. So if you take a look at that, if I rotate this figure, I want to be able to see it on both. So I'm going to rotate it, but I'm also going to maybe make it there. That's like a half an ellipse. So that looks like a half ellipse. If I look at my X and Y coordinate plane, I see half an ellipse. And I also can, if I want to, what did it say? I'm going to change the radius so it's a little smaller, and maybe you'll be able to see it on your, well, now it makes the bigger ellipse. But see how I can manipulate this? That looks like half an ellipse right here. Right here, if I take a look at this, this is a half an ellipse, and this is what it would look like if I had it on an X and Y coordinate plane, a two-dimensional plane. So now my goal here is to sketch this figure. So I'm going to go back to my PDF. All right. And I'm going to sketch the cone. Now, guys, I'm going to ask you, listen, I don't have rulers that I can use on my computer right now, but you can utilize rulers. So please make it as neat as possible so when you hand it in, I can see it. I'm going to start by making my cone. Okay. So I'm going to take a look. I think actually I'm going to make the cone in black. So if I make the cone, I have the two straight lines here and here. Okay. That's my cone. And if I want to, I can make a dash in the back, so that I know I can show that that is the back of my cone. All right, guys. So there's my cone. Now, if I go look at this image, I can see where that figure is going to be, that half ellipse. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to take a different color because I'm going to shade it. And I can see, if I look at this, I'm going to draw almost a segment, not necessarily a diameter, but maybe a diameter. I'm going to draw that across, then it hits, and then it's going to come up. And it's going to look somewhat like this. All right, so I'm going to try a little better. Let me see if I can make it a little thicker. It might help. All right, guys. So if I take a look, let's see. I'll do it like this way, and I can do it up like that. That looks like my ellipse. And then if I want, I can shade it in. All right, so shade in that ellipse to show That's how I can use when I cut a cone, I can form half an ellipse. All right. Now we're going to do everything with the cone first. So now if I go to a triangle, let's say in a cone. So let's take a look at this. So that's my half ellipse. At triangle, I'm still utilizing that cone, guys. So I'm still going to be using a cone. So I'm going to draw my cone. Please be as neat as possible when you're doing it so you can refer back to it. So I have my cone. Now I want to somehow make a triangle this time. Now let's say we have to manipulate this, okay? So we can manipulate. I can rotate the slice. Okay, so let's say I can move this. I can rotate my slice. How can I that didn't make a triangle. I can rotate it that way. I'm still not making a triangle. How can I wait a minute. Take a look at that right there. I manipulated. Just manipulate all of the things we can. We can rotate around the Y. We can rotate around the Z. We can move the slice or we can adjust the radius. Right now, I formed a triangle cross section. So if you take a look, if I have a plane that intersects the vertex of my cone and then goes down and intersects the base of my cone, I will form a triangle. So if you want to take a look, how are we going to draw that? Well, we're going to say again, I'm going to take that line. I should probably do it in this first. All right, I'm going to draw that, and that would be my cross section, and I'm going to shade it in. It would have to hit the vertex of my cone. And that's how I can get a triangle cross section by intersecting a plane, cutting a cone with a plane. All right. So now we have two things. We can make a half an ellipse when we cut the cone with the plane. We need a triangle. And now we're going to look to making a circle. How can I do that? We're still in the cone. All right. So let's take a look. I'm still in my cone. I'm going to construct my cone. And I want to make a circle. Well, let's go back to our interactive activity. How can I do this? How can I move everything to make a circle right there? Now, in order to make the circle, I just had to have a plane that is cutting my cone, and that plane has to be parallel to our base. That plane cutting the cone is parallel to my base. That I'm going to make a circular cross section. So if I take a look at that, I'm going to draw a plane, a circle that is parallel to the base, and that would be my circle cross section. All right. So this helps us visualize it a little more, this activity. All right. Now, the one thing I want to do, you have a couple more shapes, and I just want to show you how the interactive cross-section flyer thing works. See how we have a rectangular prism. So here I have to go to prism. Now, right now, they gave me a pentagon. So what do I have to change? I need to change the number of lateral faces. So see down the bottom, I can reduce them. I can do a triangle, right? I have a quadrilateral, a pentagon, a hexagon. You need to adjust the lateral faces so that you have exactly what you want. And then you'll be able to, again, animate whatever you need to do, change everything till you figure out how I can form the figure in which they're asking me. And then when you do that, to your best of your ability, I would like you to draw it down here. So you have a rectangular prism that we want to make a rectangle, a pentagon, and an isosceles triangle. Now, same thing, pentagonal pyramid. I'm going to go to pyramid, and they gave me a pentagonal pyramid, and I'm going to adjust my size, and I can hit stop here. I can animate. I can hit stop. I can move the markers to see how that changes it, and I'm going to figure out ways to make a hexagon, a triangle, and a pentagon, and sketch those figures. All right, and last but not least, is square pyramid. So again, go back, hit pyramid, and you're going to go square. So we're reducing our lateral faces. So we have a square pyramid, and we can do the same. So you're going to manipulate it, rotate the Y around the Y, rotate around the Z, move the slice, change the number of lateral faces, and you can manipulate your figure. All right, so your goal today now is to complete this activity worksheet. All right, guys, we're looking at the possible cross sections that we can make when we look at different types of solids. Now, you can also investigate other forms on the same activity. So if there's anything else you would like to look at, if you wanted to look at a cylinder, I can look at how I can manipulate that cylinder. What can I form? All right, so I can form a semicircle. Okay, and then if I go back Yep, we run a semicircle there. And then it keeps on going, we don't have a full circle, but until it hits there, we have an ellipse, right? We have an ellipse. And if I rotate it somewhere else, so like in this case, we have ellipses, parts of an ellipse. We have semicircle. I could also stop it and I can animate it somewhere else. If I animate it here, it kind of rotates it around. If I change the Y, again, I'm eventually going to get, in this case, a rectangle in my cylinder. All right. So there's a lot of possibilities here, guys, a lot of possibilities. And if that plane becomes parallel to the base, I'm going to get a circle. So right there, when it comes parallel to the base, that plane comes parallel to the base, it's a circle. And then when it's not parallel, it's an ellipse when it still looks like an oval shape. And then it might be a cut off ellipse. And then when I hit a vertical position, it will be a square or a rectangle, depending on the shape of my cylinder. All right, guys. So this is an activity that you can pretty much play with and help. It helps you visualize the cross sections in your solids. All right, guys. So all you have to do today is complete this activity, upload the completed assignment to Canvas under this assignment, and please come to office hours if you have any questions or concerns on the activity, and I will see you tomorrow. Also, a couple things before I say see you tomorrow. We have a quiz on Thursday and a live class review on Wednesday. Please email me questions that I can implement into my live class review for you if you are uncomfortable asking them during the review. In addition, please come visit me in office hours if you have any questions or concerns, or just email me if that's easier. All right, guys, have a great day, and I hope to hear from you soon.